Shanti Shanti.
Aharyavan nitya vinishchaloham. Then ambodhivat para vivarjitoham. Like the ocean, I am boundless. Well, we are saying like the ocean, but the ocean has got a boundary. We can see that limit and where the sky meets and all. Better would have been like the space also. We are unbounded. But even when we are seeing the space, space is an object. It is an objective concept. So I am revealing the space. Space is a concept in our mind. Time is a concept in our mind. I am revealing that. In this case, it is transcending that also. I am unbounded. So the moment our mind, through all our interactions, always our smallness is coming into picture, always our limitedness, our constrictedness is coming in force. So to counter it with a constant thought of this kind is a sadhana which we have to practice throughout the day in everything. And there the chanting is a great sadhana. If we do the practice, the recitation of the shlokas loudly or even without, even in the mind also, but loudly will be definitely better. If we practice this recitation of the shlokas with the meaning in mind, there should be an emotional association. Without the emotional association, all this chanting also will become, any sadhana will become useless. Suppose japa, people go on doing the japa and counting the number of times one has done the japa. It will have the minimum effect, it will not have. In any japa also, unless there is an emotional association with it, it will not be fruitful. We are prostrating, but there is no emotional association. In prostration there should be gratefulness, there should be humility, all these things should come. Then only we will grow spiritually. So whatever the practice is, if it is meditation, if it is recitation, if it is rumination, everywhere the emotional association, our complete wholesome association of the being, that makes the sadhana powerful, that takes us forward. Without the emotional association, it will not be powerful. So if we go on chanting these verses throughout the day with the emotional association, with the bhava, then automatically there a bhava samshuddhi will take place, as we have discussed earlier. Bhava samshuddhi will take place like that. The bhava will become expanded, it will become purified, it will become uniform. All these things will happen. Akashavallepaviduragoham adityavadbhasya vilakshanoham aharyavanitya vinishchaloham ambodhivat paravivarjitoham akashavallepaviduragoham adityavadbhasya vilakshanoham aharyavanitya vinishchaloham ambodhivat paravivarjitoham. Now we have to understand what is this Nishkalam Dhyayamanaha. First of all, what is this meditation? Dhyayamanaha means what is, we are in a meditative state. What is this meditation on the Atma? And what is this Nishkalam? The question is that finally the truth has to shine in our buddhi. Buddhi means the bodhi, from where the buddhi is coming. It has to naturally shine there. Now our buddhi is generally associated with all formed limited concepts, because we are always dealing with in the ken of duality, in the ken of the objects and in the ken of duality, multiplicity. So such a buddhi will not be able to reflect the transcendental Atma normally. That is why they say that it cannot be known by vacha, cannot be known by the words, cannot be known by the mind, all these things. Because normally the mind, buddhi, everything is given to this constricted, limited concepts which are all within the ken of duality. That buddhi has to be made nirmala, has to be made absolutely pure. What is the meaning of that purity? That in that buddhi, we say that the Atma's reflection has to be had in that buddhi. Actually, it is not a reflection that way also. The Atma is self-revealing. When all the limiting things of the buddhi, they are removed, the Atma will become self-manifest there. The hurdles, whatever we face initially, that removing all the ideas about Atma, initially we may have a formed idea, we may have various kinds of concepts about what is this Atma, etc. When they are removed also, suppose we are trying to locate the Atma, wherefrom that I is coming. We call it Pratyagatma, because normally our focus is always outward. It is Parak, always the focus, our indriyas, everything, our mind, everything is going outward. To locate the I, to discover the I, wherefrom that our amness is coming, wherefrom our identity, the real identity is coming, we have to invert the whole focus. The focus has to be inward. So we call it Pratyagatma, that means the Atma which is discovered through looking inward. Now, when we look inward, the focus goes inward, and we slowly try to disassociate from that body. I generally think I am the body, but no, I am the knower of the body, I am the perceiver of the body, I am knowing the body, so I am not the body. So I detach myself from the body. Similarly, the mind, the thoughts, I am seeing the thoughts, good thoughts were there, bad thoughts were there, now this thought has come, that thought has gone, all these things I am seeing, so I am not the mind also. The emotional things also, emotional moods, etc., I am observing, I am not that. Even the buddhi, whatever the buddhi is trying to analyze, etc., I am observing that the buddhi was sharp, it is dull today. All these things I am observing, and whatever the buddhi is exercise, the buddhi is doing, I am observing that. So I am different. So I am different from all those aspects of my being. So I disidentify myself, my identity, I disidentify with all these things and try to get to that pristine, pure identity in me. Now there also, the last hurdle comes because I want to discover something. Because as I know the world, as I discover something outside, the tendency to know something as different from me, that is the last hurdle we face there. That when we are trying to discover the self also, then again we try to discover the self as something different from me. The moment I try to discover something different from me, actually we are making the self non-self, or we can say we are objectivizing the subject. We have to think deeply about it to understand and to go into it. That I am trying to discover what is that Atma, wherefrom that amness is coming, what is that real I. Now this discovery, if I make that I want to discover, the buddhi is still having the cheshta, it is having effort, it is having the effortfulness to discover something. By that very effort, we are making the self non-self or objectivizing the subject. So this effort is self-defeating. That very effort to know the self with that kind of a tendency to discover it as different from me, that is self-defeating. It can never succeed. So this is how the dhyana of the Atma takes place. Maybe quite a few days or even years I have been trying like this, that trying to discover the self and failing like this. So because we don't have enough of introspection, the dhyana on the Atma will be always accompanied by introspection initially. Finally that also will get dissolved. But with this introspection we will have to discover that my effort is becoming self-defeating and I will not be able to see that. So The Atma, if at all it will be revealed, it cannot be revealed as something different from me. So, to come away from that tendency, first of all, we have to leave all the effortfulness. We have to leave the effort of the buddhi also. And finally, it can happen sometimes suddenly also that we simply surrender, not knowing what to do. How can we do then? We simply surrender all our effort, everything. So when everything becomes still and the buddhi also becomes effortless, then this self prakasha, that swatah prakasha, or the self effulgence of the Atma reveals itself, the revelation comes, and we get our all problems, all the doubts, they get resolved through that. So the process of dhyana, that nishkalam tatastutam pashyate nishkalam dhyayamanaha. What is nishkalam? It does not have any form, it does not have any part at all. So how can we meditate on such a formless? It is not like that. We have to remove all the forms. Does not mean always the shape in the space. Any concept is a form. So we have to make our mind and buddhi freed of all kinds of concepts. Then the Atma reveals itself. It has to reveal itself like that. See, in Ashtavakra it is said that when it will not be known until we forget the whole world. When we forget the whole world, including my body, mind, personality also, then only it will reveal itself. In that revelation, there is no individual identity, that I we are saying, that amness we can say. It is not that individual I different from others, it will not be there. The real I is not divided. The real I for everybody, it is the same I, the same consciousness. There is no parameter associated with it which will distinguish it from others. Suppose A and B, if we say that A's Atma is different from B's Atma, the two are different, then how do you identify the two Atmas? To say that this is A's Atma, you have to identify some personality trait or mental character or some parameter, A parameter with that Atma. The moment you associate any parameter with that Atma, that parameter is a visible quantity, that is an object, that is not belonging to the Atma at all. Atma is the revealer of any parameter. Similarly, the B's Atma also. To distinguish that A's Atma and B's Atma are different, you have to associate the personality or say objective parameter, either mind or external, whatever, but they are the objective parameters associated with A and B. But the Atma is a revealer of all the objective parameters. So Atma cannot be identified as separate for anybody at all. There can be no identification mark for the Atma. This is the cleansing process our intelligence will have to undergo through vichara. This is called the vichara. And we have to go into this vichara more and more and more to purify, to clear our buddhi, clear our mind of all the associations we generally are used to. By tendency, from birth we have been associating all objective parameters with it. How can it be easy to get rid of all these objective parameters? That is the dhyana, that dhyamanaha they said. This is the dhyana on the Atma. Because Atma is not a formed thing which you can meditate upon. Atma's meditation goes like this. Na chakshusha grihyate napi vacha.
Na chakshusha grihyate napi vacha.
Nanyair devais tapasa karmana va.
Nanyair devais tapasa karmana va.
Jnana prasadena vishuddha sattvaha.
Jnana prasadena vishuddha sattvaha.
Tatastutam pashyate nishkalam dhyayamanaha.
Tatastutam pashyate nishkalam dhyayamanaha.
Esho nuratma cetasa veditavyo.
Esho nuratma
Yasmin pranaha panchadha samvivesha.
Yasmin pranaha panchadha samvivesha.
Esho nuratma cetasa veditavyo. Yasmin pranah panchadha samvivesha.
Yasmin pranah panchadha samvivesha.
Pranaishchittam sarvamotam prajanam.
Pranaishchittam sarvamotam prajanam.
Yasmin vishuddhe vibhavatyeshatma.
Yasmin vishuddhe vibhavatyesha atma.
See, here they have now said that earlier they were saying it cannot be attained by any of the indriyas. Still earlier they said even by the mind and buddhi and all. Now he is saying, Esho anuratma cetasa veditavyo. It has to be known by the mind, by the chetas. Eshaha anuratma. Not that it is small like the anu. It is extremely subtle. Here anu means extremely subtle. Even when we say subtle, our objective idea of the subtle has to be eliminated. It is not the subtle like the space. This subtlety goes far beyond the objective ken. Because it is subtle means even the space, the concept of the space is appearing in this. Concept of the gross table, the grossness, gross world is also appearing in there. So it is neither gross nor subtle. The whole grossness is made of this. The subtlety also is made of this. Both are concepts in this subtlety. Such is the subtlety of the Atma. Esha Atma cetasa veditavyo. But it has to be known by our chetas, by our mind. What kind of a mind? Just now I said that nishkalam dhyayamanaha. The mind which has been purified by constant vichara. Cetasa veditavyo. Yasmin pranaha panchadha samvivesha. In this chitta, in this chetas, the prana with its fivefold manifestation, they have got completely interwoven in it. Samvivesha, samyak vivesha, it has entered in it. Now here we can say that the prana means the five kinds of prana, as we say. The prana, udana, vyana, etc., the five kinds of prana. But here they will not mean much. So I would rather try to understand it in terms of the five sense perceptions. Because the senses are also activated with the prana. And in the mind what is coming is not directly the prana, but the mind is constituted of all the sense impressions. The whole universe we see with infinite variety. If we analyze them, actually they are constituted of different proportions of these five perceptions that we have. Our universe does not contain any other perception. Only these five what we have, these five perceptions, they make the whole universe. So the mind also, whatever thoughts are there, whatever the mind is constituted of, in that these five sensory perceptions which are activated by the prana, that in the five manner the prana is getting activated. Suppose it is sound. Prana is activating the sound. But in our mind it is appearing as some sound, some vision. The eyes are activated by the prana and the impression is also activated by the prana. But in our mind it is appearing as some form, some vision. Like that anything in the world is through the five sense perceptions, the prana is appearing in our mind. So the prana is completely fused in our mind in its fivefold expressions. We should understand that. By understanding what is going to happen, we will understand that this multifarious impression what we are getting is actually not that infinite variety at all. They are all manufactured things in the mind. They are all made of mind. What we are perceiving, whether the gross world is there outside or not, that can be thought about. But what the gross world, the universe we are perceiving, both external and internal, it is in our consciousness, in our mind. So they are all of the same thing. So why run after certain things or run away from something, thinking that something will happen? But our ragadvesha, they don't leave us. Our interactive state through our interactions throughout life, they have got so much embedded in us, ingrained in us, that it is very difficult to get rid of it. That is why these interactions, these ruminations have to be constant. So he says, Eshanuratma chetasa veditavyo yasmin pranaha panchadha samvivesha. They where in this chitta, in this mind, the prana with its fivefold manifestation has got interwoven, got embedded. Pranaish chittam sarvam otam prajanam sarvam chittam pranaihi otam yasmin vishuddhe esha atma vibhavati. He says, prajanam sarvam chittam pranaihi otam. Our mind, it is actually completely intermingled, it is completely amalgamated with this fivefold prana. That is what I was saying, that the whole universe, our mind is this universe only. That is the chittakasha, as I said the other day. That bhutakasha, what we see outside, is nothing but the chittakasha. What we are perceiving is inside the mind. That is called the chittakasha. Now this chittakasha is made of all the five sense perceptions which are enlivened through the prana. Prana in five form. They are completely mingled with our mind, amalgamated with our mind. Sarvam otam. Otam means vyaptam. It means completely amalgamated, might be the better word here. Yasmin vishuddhe vibhavatyesha atma. Yasmin vishuddhe sati. It is a sati saptami, means conditional. That means when that chitta becomes purified, the purification we have already discussed in the previous shloka. So when that chitta is purified, that means it gets rid of all its ragadvesha, and these ragadvesha were coming from all the divided, fragmented appearances. So when all those limitations, constrictions, fragmentations, they are cleansed, they are removed. Yasmin vishuddhe eshaha atma bibhavati. Then that atma shines in that chitta. It's a bibhavati. Bibhavati, that means Vishesha Rupena Bhati, that is, it shines then. Otherwise also that I is always there. I is always there with us. It is an aparoksha for us, because the I in us, it's not seen by the eye, by any of our indriyas, any of our sense organs. We don't see this I. And also it is not an inference that I prove from something else that yes, there is I. No. It is neither pratyaksha nor paroksha. We have pratyaksha and paroksha. Pratyaksha means right in front of the akshas, in front of the indriyas. And paroksha means which are not perceptible by the indriyas but can be inferred through logic. Inferences through causality. So the I is neither pratyaksha nor paroksha. It's a direct perception. We call it aham pratyaya gochara, the conviction that I am, that amness is there. Actually it is aparoksha. But this aparoksha is a samanya aparoksha. There we are not coming to know the real identity. That I sense everybody has, and that is a direct sense we have. Similarly, the real identity also will have to be an aparoksha perception, have to be an aparoksha anubhava, aparoksha anubhuti. It has to be a direct perception. So when the mind, buddhi, everything gets completely purified, when they no longer cling to any concept at all, and they no longer engage with any object, taking it to be real, then the reality of the identity, our real identity, it shines in that prajna, in that bodhi, in that mind. So here in this shloka he says that shines in the mind. That is why we say that in the Shastras it is said that pure mind itself is the soul. Because when the mind gets purified, the soul shines there itself. So it is not this vibhavati and this pashyati, etc. We are not that there is something inside and you are seeing it. It is not discovering something in that manner, but the entire purificatory process changes our own mind, intelligence, everything, that they become the soul. That is why it is said, Brahmavid Brahmaiva Bhavati. One who knows Brahman, he becomes Brahman.